Hey guys, what's up? It's Shauna. This week I'm going to do a recreation of one of my most popular blog posts, and that's 3 tips to improve your dialogue. I wish Starbucks sponsored this video. So dialogue is a very fickle creature, but it is one of my favorite parts of writing. I may be the only weirdo that loves dialogue, but it's just my thing. I've also been told by many of my beta readers that my dialogue scenes flow very well and seem very natural. I have done so much research on this topic because that's how I want it and that is my goal. I will be referencing my phone since this is a blog post. I will also link the blog post below in case you just want to go check it out. So the main thing with dialogue is you have to realize that it's not just a conversation between characters. Dialogue plays a much larger role in the story. So it can show rather than tell. It can further the plot, create tension and drama, reveal character, and create white space on the page. What I mean by white space is when you're looking at the page, there's just not blocks of text. It's broken up because characters are having a conversation. This helps the reader flow through the pages and keep turning and keep turning and keep turning. It can also reveal important contextual information, explore and reinforce themes, and foreshadow events. So yeah, it can do a lot. But I think perhaps that's why it is very intimidating for some writers. So I am going to go through the 3 steps I take while writing my dialogue. The first step is crafting the dialogue before writing anything down. So this kind of starts with something that's a little bit more passive. When you're out and about, listen to the conversations around you. I know that before I would be in the grocery store and I would have my headphones in, or I'd be on my phone doing something and not paying attention to anyone else. But after I really started to listen to other people's conversations, I really began to understand how different people speak and how different people react. I highly recommend you go, the next time you're out and about getting coffee or at the grocery store, you just stop and listen to what other people are saying. And it doesn't have to be creepy and weird, but if you hear something that's interesting to you in their speech patterns or something like that, then write it down. So keep a notebook with you, which you should be anyways because it's just a good habit. But keep a notebook with you so you can write those down and have those to reference when you're writing your dialogue. The second thing I do in this first step is I talk it out. So when I'm driving in my car on my long commute to work, I am speaking out my dialogue and trying different things and making sure my character's voice is coming through. And then when I have a moment, I'll write down the things that I liked and move on from there. So now we've got some ideas of what is going to happen in this scene. We've got what our characters are primarily going to say. Sometimes they still come in and, you know, throw a little line in there that you weren't expecting, but we have a general idea. Okay, so step 2. Now that we have the conversation planned out, we are going to write it out. But hold on, we're only going to write the bits of dialogue. Don't worry about adding the dialogue tags or any action or any scene setting, just the dialogue itself. This will give us a clear view of how the conversation will flow. It will also help us see our character's raw voice. This will help us make the character unique and make each of them sound differently so that even without tags, we'd be able to identify who's speaking. Once it feels nice and smooth, we are going to add the dialogue tags and exposition. So some things to think about with this is, does the dialogue feel grounded in the scene? Are they in a forest or in a city street, or are there people interrupting? So you're gonna wanna consider all of those things. The second thing you'll wanna do is arrive late and leave early. What I mean by that is the hellos and goodbyes are usually kind of boring. So unless it is telling you something important about the character, then cut that out. The next thing we're gonna look at is, does every line serve a purpose? Is everything pushing the plot forward or building character relationships? Is it foreshadowing something? If not, then we need to cut it. Now we're gonna look at the characters. Is one character speaking more than the others, or is another character not speaking at all? How many people are in your scene? Is it important to have them all there? Next, is the dialogue realistic but not real? Think about it. During our everyday speech, we say and ah a lot, and I cut a heck of a lot of them out of my videos. So unless they are adding something to the character, cut that out. Now it's here that I'm gonna add that it's wonderful to add speech tics and patterns to make your characters sound unique. However, you don't wanna go overboard. And I would caution using dialects and accents because sometimes they can come across very stereotypical and come across offensively. And also using slang and trying to spell out dialects is probably going to hurt your reader's experience. So feel free to use them, just tone it down because a little goes a long way when it comes to dialect and accents. Remember, we don't want the reader spending time trying to figure out what your character is saying. We want your reader to be able to flow through the story with ease. The next thing we're going to keep in mind is we want to make sure that our characters are conveying something new to each other and not just telling the reader. For example, you wouldn't want your character to say, "You're my sister, Tina. You know that mom works at the hospital." Because of course the characters know that. The author is just trying to convey that they're sisters and their mom works at the hospital. There are much better ways to convey that information. Guys, this is my sin. This is my sin right here. So this is one of those things that is do as I say and not as I do. Because I mess this up all the time, and that is dropping character names. How often do you really say someone's name? Pretty much only if you're trying to get their attention, and I do it so much. I have to cut it out of my work so often. You would think I would learn, but I just can't. I try to use it for emphasis and it just loses it because it loses all of its power because I do it so much. Okay, so the next big step is about dialogue tags, and I'm actually just going to link my video to this because it's all about using said and when not to use said and the use of dialogue tags. And I really explain it really well in that video, so go ahead and check it out there. For here, I'll just say that said is not dead. So if you're going to be using a dialogue tag, typically it is good to just use asked or said. Gosh, you guys can probably hear my dog eating and drinking his food right now. I'm so sorry. I also show an example from Stephanie Garber's Legendary in my blog post, so go ahead down in that description box and check that out. Okay, so now we are on to step 3. We are going to read it aloud. Now, I don't recommend you personally read it aloud. Either have somebody else read it aloud, or I use Microsoft Word's read aloud feature. So if you read it aloud, typically your brain will register that a word is there even if it's not, because that's how you intended it to be. But the read aloud function obviously doesn't have a brain, so it's just going to read it word for word and you'll be able to catch those mistakes. Again, in that blog post, I show you exactly where you can find the read aloud feature, so go ahead and check that out. So that's it. That is all my tips on dialogue, and with this blog post and also that video, you will get a lot of information. And I really hope that this helps you improve your dialogue. So that's all I've got for you today. Thank you so much for stopping in. I post videos every Wednesday all about books and writing. So if that sounds good to you, I would love it if you would like, comment, and subscribe below. And we'll see you guys next time. Bye!